Alright, the Feds just basically came out and just crashed whatever that they can, whenever they want, with James Bullard, the most bearish member, or in terms of FOMC term, the most hawkish member, coming out to say that there would be a lot more rate hike coming in. So first we have to cover what happened from the previous time. First of all, we have a substantially better CPI than we actually expected. When all the banks expected a 0.6, 0.7, we actually got a 0.4. And of course, in comparison to October of the previous year, it was at 0.9, if I'm not mistaken. We were at 0.9. So right now we are getting 0.4. So of course we are starting to see a change in trajectory for CPI to go down lower, possibly, not sure as of now. But of course, if you're looking for 2021, October, November, December 2022, January, February, March, April, May, June, all of them were pretty substantially high, especially for March of 2022 and June of 2022. Those were high numbers. We got 1.2% month over month and 1.3% month over month, respectively. So now, for the CPI wise, we actually got a 0.4%, which is, like I said, a substantially better result, more than expected. Afterwards, we got a pretty solid PPI report, which is the Producer Price Index. It's basically the opposite side of a consumer price index, where the people who are actually doing all the production line, where they're actually seeing the inflation and such. So these two separate reports actually gave relatively good results, or at least better results than expected, which is why a lot of people are starting to think, oh, hold on, maybe the next FOMC meeting, we might be able to see a 50 basis point increment instead of a 75 basis point increment. And of course, after the CPI result came out, people were talking about how there's also a possibility that we might actually see a rates pause coming soon. It could be early next year. And that's, of course, the biggest bullish signal that we can see in the market right now, which is we want to see a rates pause. When we see a rates pause, usually, or historically speaking, it will usually be followed up with a rates decrease. So we want to see a rates decrease, and then afterwards we can see cheap money flowing back into the economy again. Right now, money is very, very expensive, if you believe it or not. Okay, so after the CPI and the PPI, we got Lael Brainard, which is the vice chairwoman of the Federal Reserve, actually coming out to talk about how, this is actually a lot better than expected. Maybe we could be seeing rates pause coming in the early next year. So that's according to Lael Brainard. Of course, for Jerome Powell, he don't usually come out to make any sort of statement other than during the Jackson Hole Symposium and FOMC. Other than that, he don't really show up for events or show up for any CNBC, Bloomberg sort of interviews for us to actually get his insights. So we actually look at James Bullard, which is why, in general, pre-market, in general, for the Federal Reserve, we usually only look at three different members. The three members would be Jerome Powell, which is the chairman, Lael Brainard, which is the vice chairwoman, and James Bullard. Why is James Bullard so important? Is because he is one of the most hawkish members in the Federal Reserve. And for him, he usually comes out with very, very bearish sentiment as a whole. So what happened 2 days ago is that, 2 days ago, James Bullard basically came out to say that, we are not even at the restrictive levels yet. He thinks that the Federal Reserve needs to continue raising rates for us to reach a restrictive level. Okay, so what actually spooked the market was not just because of James Bullard, it was because whatever he actually said was actually continuously reiterated by Jerome Powell in the previous FOMC, which is we want to get to a restrictive policy, we want to get to a restrictive rate, we want to get to a restrictive level before we start to even think about pausing or think about lowering rates. And of course, having a 0.4% month over month isn't exactly the best result that we can get, because we have not yet seen any form of deflation happening in the market as of now. And if we do not see any sort of deflation happening in the market, we cannot exactly call it the bullish signal that, we're completely out of the woods. Which is why I do believe that where James Bullard is actually thinking of, as much as he is very, very bearish, And personally, I don't see myself as bullish as before. I do see the headwinds that the economy is going to be getting in the near future. In the long future, of course, we're talking about 5, 10, 20 years. I don't think that the economy is going to fail completely, simply because, of course, we kind of understand that the economy is a long-term running, and as long as money is getting pumped into the system, it will just go up. Okay, but in the short term wise, I do think that what James Bullard is worried about is well placed. I think that his hawkishness is well placed, and because of that, I think for the all those hopefuls that think that the rate pause is going to be coming in the next month or the next 3 months or the next 5 months, I hope that those people kind of just hold your breath a little bit, okay? Because I'm not sure if that's even going to be coming. So this is where it actually gets interesting. Okay, because the next SCP that we are most likely going to be getting is in the next FOMC meeting, which is going to show a very, very important trajectory of where this is actually going. Okay, if this trajectory is going towards an even higher federal funds rate, we are going to see it in the SCP. However, if the SCP actually reflects a lower FFR or a similar or same FFR, then of course, possibly we might actually be seeing the rate hike coming in maybe, I don't know, March, April, that region of 2023, hopefully. But of course, if the FFR decides to actually go up according to what Jerome Powell said in the previous meeting, okay, Jerome Powell actually said this: if the SCP were to be out in that meeting, the FFR will be projected to go up even higher. This was what was actually reflected in Jerome Powell's statement. So it's fair to assume that if we have an SCP in the next meeting, we are gonna see FFR goes up, because the thing is that the Feds are not going to be like looking at every report and just CPI seems to be better, and CPI kind of beat on expectation against the banks. Okay, that's not going to be the first thing that come out to the Federal Reserve mind. To them, it's going to be like, oh, okay, we don't care about your expectations. Okay, we're just going to look at pure data, and deflation is not on the board just yet. And since deflation is not on the board, we are going to continue raising our rates until we get to the level that we need to. And that's kind of where I think the headspace of Jerome Powell is currently at, and I think that's also what we should most likely be going through as well. So yeah, basically this is kind of like, not exactly like a expectation video per se, but just my own thoughts of what is actually happening with James Bullard coming out. I'm certain that a lot of people are talking about how the rates might actually be jumping, the rates might be pausing, and they're just my own thoughts on it. But anyway, if you guys enjoy this sort of content, please subscribe and drop a like on this video. I want to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.